Dr. Cortex, to reach full power, we need not only your master crystal, but also the remaining 25 slave crystals from the surface. How do you expect to retrieve them when we don't have any Earthbound operatives left?
You fool! Do you think I'm unaware of the situation? If we don't have any friends left on the surface, then we need to find an enemy.
With the first Crash Bandicoot selling extremely well, Naughty Dog threw out a sequel 1 year later, Crash Bandicoot 2: Cortex Strikes Back. Taking place straight after the first game, Crash is tricked by Dr. Neo Cortex into collecting gems to power Cortex's new death machine. You will need to grab these gems in each of the levels in the game, which instead of simply progressing through them one by one, Crash 2 introduces a warp room system to give you a bit more freedom on how you want to approach the game. Stuck on a level? No problem, you can go to a different one and come back to it later. You also have an option to save the game in the warp room, which is a nice big innovation from the first game. When you clear 5 levels in a warp room, you will then face a boss, some of which are characters returning from the previous game. And then you will proceed to the next warp room with 5 in total. Now, the gameplay in Crash 2 hasn't evolved all that much. Your main goal is still to spin and jump through the very restrictive levels. Some now have different themes like snow, and the Boulder Dash also becomes Polar Bear Dash. And some levels you can be riding a polar bear instead of a hog from the first game. However, you still can't use the analog stick for movement, and for 3D platformers, it makes controlling your character an absolute pain, especially on later, more advanced levels. The rest is your standard affair from the first game. You smash boxes for Wumpa Fruit, 100 of which grant you a new life, get 3 Aku Aku masks for temporary invulnerability. The graphics are still really impressive for a PS1 title. Animations have had a brilliant enhancement with plenty more death animations and idle ones to make Crash even more a lovable and fun character to play as. Crash Bandicoot 2: Cortex Strikes Back is a fun and adorable little platformer and a great successor to the first game. The new warp room system is a massive improvement and something the sequel needed. Graphics, animation, sound, music, they're all still top of the game and fit perfectly. However, where Crash 2 falls isn't expressing the power of the PlayStation, with its crisp tunes and fancy graphics, but it's instead the actual talent of the studio. Compare Crash 2 to almost any other well-received platformer at the time, and it falls on giving the player a broad experience that can go up against Super Mario 64. The controls are in desperate need of a tighter and fluid movement with an analog stick. The level designs are so cognate and derivative, I find it hard to play this game for long periods of time, but Banjo-Kazooie, I can get lost in that for hours. The layouts can also become cumbersome. Many jumps, you can fail to identify the length of many gaps, and a lot of your lives can go on just memorising the layouts better. But by then, many people will have just given up. Crash Bandicoot 2 is a fun and enjoyable sequel, just not 100% there on the upgrade. Crash Bandicoot 2 from me gets a very good score of 79%. Thank you very much for watching this review of Crash 2. Make sure you stay tuned for Crash 3 review and other Crash games in the future. And until then, adios.
Crash, what do you suppose happened to Cortex? And what about the Cortex Vortex? It's still up there.